Look, I've lived in Australia for a while now, and honestly, I thought I've heard every Australian accent. But then someone said to me, Sam, have you ever heard the Adelaide accent? And I said, no, I haven't actually. And apparently it's the closest thing that Australia has to the Queen's English having a mild identity crisis. So buckle up, because today I'm reacting to the Adelaide Aussie accent for the very first time. And this might change everything I know about Australians. Let's get into it. I've been told about this incredible website called dialectsarchive.com, and then you put in /Australia. Gives you all of their Aussie accents. You've got a lot to choose from here. The big misconception with Australia is that there's only one accent and they all sound like Paul Hogan. And then I met my Australian wife on an acting job in Japan, and she had a very posh Australian accent. But it caught my attention because it was quite genuinely one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard. Bit romantic, so knowing that there were intricacies in even the accents, I knew it was going to be an incredible country to spend some time in. Anyway, okay, so first up we've got a male Australian Adelaide accent. Let's give it a little listen, shall we?
Of this recording, Australia 33.
Well, that's a lot more British than I thought it would be, just checking. Okay, let's skip a little bit.
Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the Territory. So she was very happy to start a new job.
Oh, happy. Happy almost sounds identical to the British way of saying it. But the way this guy started talking, that kind of just sounds pretty Brizzy to me. Is that just me?
Who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the Territory. So she was very happy to start a new job.
So she was very happy. I love that. Whenever I've got an audition for an Australian acting job, I'll be running the script with my wife, who is Aussie, across from me, and I will sometimes overdo it on the Australian vowel sounds, like card, how are ya? And you know, things like that. Maddie will just say to me, no, just say that in your own accent. Just say that word in your own accent, like the, or is, or a, and things like that. And I then do it, how are you? And it sounds maybe not perfect, but a lot more real. And remember to hit that like button if you want to see the rest of this series.
Superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower.
Tower. That's another thing. So many people in Brisbane are like Tower, but that was like Tower.
Even so, on her first morning, she felt stressed.
Stressed. I can kind of hear that Aussie accent in there, but so much more British. Wow. I'd seen on Reddit people saying, oh yeah, the Adelaide accent, they're a bit weird, they just speak like the Brits and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I doubt that's true, but yes, it is so much more neutral.
She ate a bowl of porridge, checked herself in the mirror and washed her
Excellent choice of brekkie.
face in a hurry. Then she put on a plain yellow dress and a fleece jacket, picked up her kit and headed to work. When she got there was a woman with a goose waiting for her.
Wow, yeah, so I'm really hearing these British vowel sounds. I feel like there's a lot of Australian mouth shapes in there. A lot of the consonants and things like that, very Aussie. But the vowel sounds, they are so much more neutral. Oh, it's really cool.
Before long, that itchy goose began to strut around the office.
And then I'll say something like goose, and I'm like, nah, you're Australian. You are proper Australian. When I hear that, I think the biggest way to work out whether someone's got an Aussie or a British accent is not the mullet, is how they pronounce O's and R vowel sounds. For full clarity, I'm not a linguist. I'm not a dialect coach. I just like listening to accents, really.
Office like a lunatic.
Lunatic. I love that. What I think I love about the Adelaide accent is it absolutely obliterates that stereotype of Aussie sounding like Paul Hogan. Oh, this is interesting. Female, Australian, Italian, Caucasian, Adelaide. Let's have a listen. 27, that's how old I am. Look at that number and I feel so old now. I'm like, am I old? 27? Anyway.
Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the Territory. So she was very happy to start
How she says territory? Territory. We would say territory. She says it almost the exact same. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love that the Adelaide accent just destroys all these stereotypes. This is so interesting. Look at this. The subject was enrolled in a BFA acting program when recorded. I hope they got paid for it, because these sorts of jobs, they're very lucrative. sometimes. From what it says here, if they were in education, maybe they didn't get paid. But things like English speaking voiceover for people learning English as a second language, that's a very lucrative job for actors. I know Maddie was, going up for a lot of Australian voiceover work when we were back in London. So yeah, these jobs are great to do.
A new job at a superb private practice in North.
Superb. That's interesting as well, because we would say superb. She says superb. And if you didn't know any wiser, you almost would, if you heard that word on its own, think that was just maybe a bit British, but you hear it in the context of this and it sounds very Aussie.
Street Tower. That area was much nearer for her and more to her liking. Even so, on her first morning, she felt stressed.
Even so? That kind of sounds like a received pronunciation English accent. Even so. I can't believe that South Australia has such a British influence on their dialect. It's really, really cool. And quick one, I'm running Gold Coast Marathon this year coming. I'm so excited. And we're aiming to raise $10,000 for the Starlight Children's Foundation. So if you fancy backing an amazing cause with whatever change you have, even if that's just $1, then I will leave the link in the description below, or you can scan this QR code here. It genuinely helps. Thank you. Let's get back to it.
Then she put on a plain yellow dress and a fleece jacket, picked up her kit and headed for work.
Why do I feel like the Adelaide accent is what's often featured in the sort of train voiceovers in the very posh, well-to-do Australian commercials? Is that just me? Because you see a Chemist Warehouse video and they're like, get down to Chemist Warehouse today. And then this is more like, welcome to the Ritz.
When she got there was a woman with a goose waiting for her.
Now she says goose a bit differently from the last guy we just heard.
When she got there was a woman with a goose waiting for her.
It says here, subject's first language was Italian, though she was born in Australia. At the time of this recording, the subject had completed 5 months of voice and speech training. Honestly, even though she was born in Australia, her first language was Italian. So the amount of effort it takes to learn not only a second language, being English, but also the way of speaking, the dialect, the accent, that takes a huge amount of work. That is like almost twice as much work as learning the language itself. When I studied French while I was in Japan, weirdly, I could learn the vocabulary quite easily, but the accent was really difficult. So fair play. Let's listen to a bit more.
Stroking the goose's lower back with her palm, then singing a tune to her. Her efforts were not futile.
Futile. I love this accent. It's so smooth. I know a lot of Aussies in Brisbane who, when they're like, our accent sucks, it sounds horrible, I'm like, mate, your accent is sick. I love your accent. Like, why do you think I fell in love with my wife? And they're like, no, our accent is so jarring. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I know that Adelaide is just, one part of Australia, and it's a huge continent, but this is such a good example of how gorgeous the Aussie accent is. And I really wish Australians got less slack about their accent. I think it's really unfair. I have the same reaction when someone's like, oh, bottle of water, mate. Oh, how are you, governor? And it's like, yeah, nice. You're playing a very small group of English people, also not from this era, from the Victorian era. Nice. So let me know in the comments below, whether you're Australian or not, do you have people ever mock your accent?
So Sarah was able to hold on to comma and give her a relaxing bath. Once Sarah had
bath. I know I'm just picking out the words that sound very English in this, but I'm just not used to it. Living in Brisbane, the Australian accent is more prominent. As you can, oh, you're in Australia, Sam, what are the odds of that? But when you hear bath, someone's Australian saying that, and it's not Maddie, who I'm used to her doing like English vowel shapes. It's really cool.
Managed to bathe the goose, she wiped her off with a cloth.
This goose is having a lovely life.
That required her to measure out a lot of medicine.
Yeah, so you can still hear that this woman is clearly, born in Australia, but it's so neutral and it's so smooth. And it's so, dare I say, English. Dare I say a little bit English. What else have we got? Let's have a little look.
I'm from Adelaide, he's from Sydney. We're both from Australia, but we have different accents.
Okay.
We'll show you why. Okay, how do you say this word?
Aftermath.
Aftermath.
Yeah, I would probably say aftermath as well. But if you said that in the UK, there would still be a lot of British people who mock you.
It's not aftermath. That's how we say it.
You don't willingly
say aftermath.
You don't willingly say that.
Maddie and I get into these very heated conversations, so I I get the energy in this.
This word. Dance. Dance.
Dance is what I would say as well. But, you know, you can't say to someone, no, this is how you pronounce the word. This is how you should speak. At the end of the day, we are all different people. We all come from different walks of life and we all have different upbringings. Even if you grow up in a place that stereotypically would say dance and you prefer to say dance, that's okay.
This word. Chance. Chance.
Also, this is how you know you've found the love of your life. I'm not sure if these two are together or anything, but Maddie and I, we would have very giggly conversations about each other's accents and how we say different words, and it comes from a place of being genuinely interested in the other person, but also that light-hearted mockery and banter because you fancy that person, so you do kind of take the mick out of them a little bit, and we both do it to each other. Yeah, so those Adelaide accents we were listening to before, they're telling truth. It's really interesting, all of the very British sounding, quite posh sounding vowel sounds. Honestly, a lot of people in the UK don't even pronounce some of these words this way. A lot of people in the UK would say plant and dance and, you know, especially in the north of England. So it's really interesting. What else have we got?
The thing about South Australians is that we speak English the way it was designed to be spoken. And the rest of the country has tried to completely change the English language to suit themselves. But we're sticking with it.
Fantastic. But if I said that about my British accent coming into Australia, I'd be kicked out, that's for certain. Like, I've only been doing this YouTube channel properly for a year. There have been times where I've been opinionated and been like, no, you say it like this, you say it like this. And yeah, I've learnt my lesson from that.
I'm from Adelaide and I was chatting to a girl from Sydney the other day and we were talking about like differences in our accents. I say Paul and she was like, no, we really pronounce the L, like Paul. I don't know, that probably sounded the same. But then I think in Queensland they say like pool.
Personally, I've only ever heard people in Queensland say pool, but there we go. I feel like, yeah, I'm reading the comments here. People always insulting our Adelaide accent. We're just posh. Yeah, I feel like there's very strong camaraderie in Australia, and I do think that when you stick out like a sore thumb, but you're not maybe, you know, a foreigner like myself, so it's less expected, I feel like people would pick on you. I feel like the people in Adelaide probably do get a lot of slack because people will sort of be like, oh, you're Australian, right? Yeah. And then hear their very posh plants, chants, dance, and be like, oh, you speak so posh. I can imagine that. Whereas with me, I'm a pommie, I'm a foreigner. So I immediately say hello to someone and they're like, oh, you're a bum, you're a bum. Disgusting! Nah, they don't say disgusting, that'd be really bad. But if I could be really honest with you guys, when I first moved to Australia, to actually move and live here, I was so afraid of sticking out too much like a sore thumb and, you know, maybe I wouldn't fit in because I'm a Pom, I sound very English. But hearing accents like this reminds me that everyone's just trying to sound like themselves. And there's something really comforting about that. Now, if this is what Adelaide sounds like, I need to visit immediately. Maybe they won't think I'm English. But don't click away yet. If you want more Aussie chaos, then my wife and I tried the most chaotic Australian snacks we could find. So click that video up here. I will see you over there. Thank you for watching to the end and see you soon. Bye.